Let's talk honestly about why food contamination happens. Some incidents are genuine accidents, equipment failures, unforeseen problems. But many cases are economically motivated fraud, situations where someone made a deliberate decision that profit was worth the risk of harming consumers. Understanding the economics of food fraud helps you recognize vulnerable products. The calculation is simple and deeply cynical. Using diseased animals in processed meat saves the cost of disposal and reclaims some value from what should be waste. Extending expensive products with cheaper fillers increases profit margins. Skipping safety steps reduces operational costs. If the probability of detection is low and the penalties are manageable, fraud becomes profitable. Let's examine specific fraud cases. The melamine in milk powder scandal killed children, but increased measured protein content in fraudulent milk, allowing sellers to dilute real milk while still passing quality tests. Horse meat substituted for beef in processed products was purely economic. Horse meat costs less. Using sick animals in processed meat, the exact scenario from the original contamination article, saves disposal costs and captures some market value from animals that should never enter the food supply. The detection probability for food fraud in processed products is genuinely low. When you grind, emulsify, and heavily season meat, species identification becomes difficult without DNA testing. When you dilute expensive oils with cheap ones, sensory detection requires expertise most consumers lack. When you add unauthorized fillers to complex processed foods, ingredient lists become too long and technical for meaningful consumer scrutiny. Enforcement is often weak because regulatory agencies are underfunded and industry captured. Inspectors may visit facilities rarely. Testing is sporadic and samples small. Even when fraud is discovered, penalties often amount to cost of doing business rather than genuine deterrence. Companies may get fined less than they profited from the fraud, making it financially rational to continue. Regulatory capture is real. Industries lobby for weaker standards, less frequent inspection, and limited penalties. They argue that stricter rules would raise prices and hurt consumers, which is true but ignores that fraud also hurts consumers through deception and sometimes poisoning. They fund favorable research and create doubt about problems. They rotate executives into regulatory positions where they oversee their former employers, which products are most vulnerable to fraud. Processed foods with complex supply chains where verification is difficult. Ground meats where species substitution is hard to detect. Products with expensive ingredients easily diluted or substituted, olive oil, honey, spices. Ethnic foods sold to consumers who can't assess authenticity. Organic products where certification is hard to verify and price premiums are substantial. Consumer protection strategies exist, but require effort. Understand which product categories have highest fraud rates and increase skepticism accordingly. Seek brands committed to transparency, those who share testing data, trace supply chains, and submit to third-party verification. Recognize that suspiciously cheap prices for premium products usually indicate fraud. Real extra virgin olive oil, authentic Parmesan cheese, wild-caught fish, these cost what they cost. Versions sold at a fraction of normal prices are almost certainly fraudulent. Blockchain and traceability technologies could prevent much fraud by creating immutable records from farm to table. Every transaction, every processing step, every quality test gets recorded in ways that can't be altered retroactively. This technology exists and works. Industry often resists implementation because it would expose profitable fraud and increase operational costs. Consumer demand for traceability could force adoption. Social media and information sharing help. When consumers discover fraud and share the information widely, companies face reputational damage that sometimes exceeds regulatory penalties. Collective intelligence, many people sharing observations about suspicious products, can identify problems faster than regulatory agencies. The fundamental issue is that our food system has become so complex and opaque that fraud opportunities are everywhere. Multiple intermediaries between production and consumption create information gaps. International supply chains cross jurisdictions with different standards. Consumers have no practical way to verify what they're actually buying. This opacity enables fraud. The solution isn't individual hypervigilance. That's exhausting and often ineffective. The solution is systemic reform, stronger regulations, better enforcement, meaningful penalties, and technology-enabled transparency. Until that happens, consumers pay for fraud through deception, health risks, and inflated prices for fake premium products.